I woke up after the accident, and realized my family had already moved on without me. They took my dog, my furniture, even my place at the table, like I had died. But I didn't. And when I came back, I made sure the world knew exactly what they did. When I opened my eyes, the ceiling was beige. Not white, beige. That was the first clue that something was wrong. I wasn't home. The second was the pain. A searing, bone-deep ache radiating from my ribs to my spine. Breathing felt like dragging glass through my lungs. I tried to speak. Nothing came out. Just air and confusion. A nurse leaned over me, her voice oddly cheerful. "Oh, he's back. Welcome back, sir. You've been with us a while." It took me 3 tries to form a word. "How long?" She smiled like that question didn't carry the weight of 1,000 nightmares. 26 days. I stared at the wall. Nearly a month. Completely unconscious. And no one had come. No familiar faces. No cards. No flowers. Not even a phone number listed as emergency contact. They'd pulled that from my wallet. According to the chart taped to my bed, I'd come in after a collision on Route 9. T-boned at 65 miles per hour. Lucky to be alive, they said. I didn't feel lucky. I felt erased. They gave me my phone 2 days later, cracked but functional. I charged it with trembling fingers and turned it on. No missed calls. No voicemails. One unread message from my internet provider about a payment. That was it. My mother? Silent. My sister? Nothing. My brother-in-law? Not even a "how are you?" Not a single soul had checked if I was alive or dead. I lay in that bed, blanketed in 4 lines and disbelief, and wondered what kind of mistake I had made in life that I could vanish for nearly a month and not a single person would notice. I tried to rationalize it. Maybe they didn't know. Maybe the hospital never reached them. Maybe someone tried and couldn't get through. But I remembered giving them my emergency contacts years ago. I remembered filling out the forms. My sister Sarah. My mom. Even my old roommate Nate, just in case. I clicked open my messages. The last thread from my sister was 2 months old. Me: "Hey, do you still need help with the move?" Her: "All set, thanks." That was it. No response when I asked if she got the new address I sent. No reply when I said I'd be in town. And now, not even a single "Are you okay?" after nearly dying on a dark road outside Albany. That night, alone in a dim hospital room with a heart monitor beeping like it was keeping time with my disappointment, I realized something. Either they didn't know. Or worse, they knew. And they just didn't care. The nurse brought soup the next morning and asked if I wanted to call someone. I said no. I wanted to see who would call first. No one did. Not after 1 day. Not after 2. Not after 5. I went home in a wheelchair, with a box of medications and a walker in the trunk. The apartment smelled like dust and something sour. My fridge was full of expired milk. Mail stacked by the door. Rent was late. No one had even thought to check in. Not even my landlord. The truth landed with a thud I could feel in my chest. They'd moved on. Like I never existed. And that was the moment something inside me cracked, not like bone, but like resolve. I wasn't just going to heal. I was going to find out why. Why my own family had vanished from my life the second I couldn't be useful. Why being vulnerable meant being disposable. And most of all, how long they'd been waiting for a reason to forget me. The first call I made was to my sister. I didn't plan what I'd say. I didn't know how to say, "Hey, it's your brother. I was unconscious for nearly a month, and you didn't even notice." She picked up after the second ring. "Hello." Her voice was flat. Distracted. Like I'd interrupted something. I said her name. Just her name. There was a pause. A long one. Then, "Oh, hey." Not "oh my god," not "is it really you," not "are you okay." Just, "Hey." I told her what happened. The accident. The hospital. The silence. She didn't apologize. She said, "Well, I figured you'd reach out if you needed something." That was it. I hung up before I said something I couldn't take back. Next, I texted Mom. Short and simple. "I'm home. I was in a car accident. I'm recovering." She replied 4 hours later. "Oh dear. Glad you're okay. Keep me updated." No call. No visit. Just a 6-word sentence that made me feel like a stranger reporting the weather. I sat on the edge of the couch, or rather, lowered myself slowly, wincing, and stared at the walls of my apartment. Every single object had a story. That lamp? I bought it after Sarah's wedding, because she said my place needed better lighting. The frame above the TV. A birthday gift from Mom. They'd once been woven into my life. And now I realized, I'd been quietly unwoven from theirs. I messaged my cousin Erica. She and I used to be close, at least closer than the others. We'd bonded over being the responsible ones, always cleaning up after everyone else's messes. I wrote, "Did anyone tell you I was in a bad wreck? I just got home. Just trying to figure out if anyone even noticed." She saw it. Didn't reply. That was when it hit me. This wasn't about distance. This wasn't about confusion. This was intentional. I'd been quietly edited out. Not angrily. Not dramatically. Not with some explosive falling out. But like a typo. Deleted with 2 keystrokes and forgotten. And I kept asking myself, what did I do? The last time I spoke to Mom in person was before Christmas. I brought her groceries. I fixed her water heater. I gave her a card with $200 cash inside. She hugged me, told me she didn't deserve a son like me. Maybe she was right. I opened Facebook. I hadn't checked in a while. And there it was. A family photo. My mother, my sister, her husband, the kids. All smiling. All glowing. Posted a week ago. A barbecue. While I was lying in a hospital bed with a feeding tube. I zoomed in. My old dog, Lucy, sitting by my niece's chair. Wait, Lucy? My dog? No one had told me anything. I clicked another post. Best family ever. So lucky to have each other. No mention of me. Not in the comments. Not even a stray, "We're missing someone." That night I went through every conversation, every favor, every time I said yes when I should have said no. Every family emergency I showed up for. Every ride I gave. Every check I wrote. All of it. And then I opened my camera roll and found a photo from 2 years ago, me holding Lucy at my birthday dinner. I cried. Not because I'd lost them. But because it finally hit me. I was the only one who ever considered this a real family. They'd made their choice. Now I was making mine. I thought things couldn't feel more hollow than waking up alone in a hospital bed. But scrolling through the last 3 months of their lives, through smiling faces and big family dinners and sunny group photos on vacations I was never told about, that was worse. It wasn't just that they hadn't called. It was that they'd never intended to. I started piecing things together like a detective on a case no one wanted solved. My sister's wedding anniversary had passed while I was unconscious. I remembered her asking months ago if I'd be available to help set up. She wanted someone to handle the chairs and lights. I said yes. But the photos told a different story. Everything was handled beautifully. My cousin's husband, Dave, stood in the spot where I would have stood. He even wore a similar suit. The exact one I helped her pick for me when we went shopping back in September. She never returned it. She just gave my role to someone else. There were pictures of Lucy, my dog, in their backyard, wearing a pink bandana and sitting on a deck chair with a name tag that said, "Family Pup." I never gave her away. No one asked me. But while I was in recovery, someone must have entered my apartment. My neighbor upstairs had a spare key, maybe he gave it to them. There was a photo of my mother's living room, redecorated. The couch I bought her last year. Gone. Replaced by a sleek, sterile-looking set I knew she wouldn't have chosen herself. The painting I gave her for Mother's Day, a watercolor of the house we grew up in, had vanished from the wall. And then I saw the worst one. A group shot of all of them around the table for Thanksgiving. My chair, the one I sat in every single year, was missing. Not empty. Gone. As if it had never existed. They hadn't just moved on. They had restructured. Life without me wasn't a hole they'd filled, it was a puzzle they'd redesigned entirely. And not one of them had sent a message. Not one, "We missed you." Not even a lie to soften the blow. I looked at the date stamp on the Thanksgiving photo and remembered exactly where I was that day. Hooked up to and for, learning how to walk again with a physical therapist who said I was lucky to be alive. I wasn't lucky. I was replaced. And what stung wasn't just the forgetting. It was that their lives looked happier. Less complicated. Lighter. Like I'd been the weight all along. But that couldn't be true. Could it? I started thinking back, retracing years of family interactions, not with nostalgia, but with fresh eyes. Like how they only called when something needed fixing. How I always hosted the kids on weekends when Sarah needed a break. How Mom only ever reached out when the bills got tight or something needed replacing around the house. Even the last birthday I'd celebrated, I threw it for myself. I paid. I drove. I brought the cake. They showed up. Took photos. Left early. The realization came slowly, like cold water rising in a sinking car. I wasn't a son. I wasn't a brother. I wasn't even really a person to them. I was a utility. And the second I broke down, they just found other tools. I thought about calling them again, telling them how it felt, asking, begging, for honesty. But I stopped myself, because deep down, I already knew the answer. I had always been temporary. I just didn't see it, until they didn't bother pretending anymore. They thought they'd erased me. But I was still breathing, still standing, still me. And I needed to see it with my own eyes, how they lived without me, how quickly they'd stitched their world back together as if I were just a tear in the fabric. So when I saw the invite floating around Facebook, a graduation party for my niece, Claire, I didn't RSVP. I didn't text anyone. I just went, pulled up in my dusty old car with a cane in one hand and a bottle of wine in the other. I wore the same blue shirt they once teased me for calling formal. My ribs still ached. I hadn't shaved. My hair had started to gray at the sides. Maybe it had been like that before, maybe I just noticed now. There were white tents in the backyard. Balloons. Catered food. A rented photo booth. The kind of setup that screams, family money, which was ironic, considering I'd been the one paying off Mom's property taxes a year ago. As I stepped onto the lawn, a few heads turned. Recognition flickered. Then confusion. Sarah was the first to speak. Ethan. Not oh my God, you're okay. Not we were so worried. Just my name. Like a ghost caught in the daylight. Mom was standing by the drink table, dressed in pastel pink like always. Her eyes went wide, and for half a second, she looked like she might cry. But the tears never came. Instead, she said, "You should have called." That was it. You should have called. I smiled. Not out of warmth, but because the moment was so absurd I couldn't help it. I did, I said. Turns out the signal's pretty weak from an ICU bed. No one laughed. Claire approached next, my niece, the only one who'd ever really looked up to me. She hugged me. Awkwardly, but real. Her eyes flicked to the cane. She whispered, "They said you moved away." Moved away. I took a deep breath and looked at my sister. That what you told her? Sarah's mouth opened, then closed. I didn't know what to say, she muttered. I looked around. Everyone avoided my eyes. Plates shifted. Cups lifted. Conversations turned away. So I made it easy for them. I walked over to the table and placed the wine down, right in the center. Then I tapped my cane once on the ground and raised my voice just enough to be heard without sounding angry. I just wanted to see it for myself, I said. To see what a family celebration looks like when the family's lighter by one person. That got their attention. I continued. I nearly died last month. Woke up alone in a hospital with no visitors, no phone calls, not even a damn text. I watched all of you carry on like I never existed. And now, standing here, I realize I didn't. Still silence. Claire looked up at me, eyes wide. Uncle Ethan. I'm okay, I said gently. I just needed to know who I was to all of you. And I've learned a lot. I turned toward the food table, picked up a deviled egg, and bit into it. Still good, I muttered. At least some things haven't changed. Then I left. I didn't storm out. I didn't cry. I just walked slowly, cane clicking against the sidewalk, back to my car. And for the first time since waking up in that beige-ceilinged room, I didn't feel confused. I felt awake. They hadn't buried me. They just finally admitted what I never wanted to see. That I was only family when I was convenient. And now that I wasn't. I was something worse than forgotten. I was unnecessary. I didn't go home that night. I drove around for 2 hours, circling neighborhoods I didn't live in anymore, listening to old playlists that reminded me of simpler years, years when I believed family meant something unshakable, permanent, sacred. By the time I pulled into my apartment complex, the streetlights had clicked on and the world felt quieter than it had in weeks. But something inside me had shifted. I didn't want closure anymore. I wanted truth. So I started digging. It began with a single login, my mother's Amazon account. Years ago, I helped her set it up. Her password hadn't changed. She'd even saved it in a notebook I found last time I fixed her laptop. A tiny, floral one with "Trust the process" on the cover. The irony didn't hit me until later. I typed it in, half expecting it to be empty. It wasn't. Her purchase history was stacked with things I recognized: but not in her house. A new set of knives I'd bought for my kitchen, now listed under her account as replacement gift for Sarah. A mattress, my mattress, the same brand and size I'd special ordered last year when my back pain started. The same color, same model, delivered to Sarah's address. 3 weeks after my accident, my stomach tightened. I dug deeper, this time into Sarah's social media. Most of her profile was private, but photos still leaked through mutual friends. That's when I saw it. My desk. The one I hand-built in my garage over 2 months. The walnut finish, double-drawer slab of sweat and splinters I once said would be the last piece I ever make with my hands. Sitting in her home office. Her husband grinning beside it in a surprise home makeover post. No credit. No mention. Just a caption. So grateful for the upgrade. We're finally settling in. I felt like I'd been scraped out of my own skin. I went to my storage unit next, the one I'd paid in advance before the accident. The key still hung on the hook by my kitchen door. When I unlocked the unit, I knew what I'd find before I even rolled the metal gate up. Nothing. Completely empty. No boxes. No furniture. No framed photos. No old records. Nothing. The clerk didn't even flinch when I asked what happened. Closed out 3 weeks ago, he said. Signed off by your mother. My mouth went dry. You sure? He showed me the form. Her signature. Her name in rushed cursive. She hadn't just taken my things. She'd signed me out of my own life. And the worst part? She wasn't the only one. Back at home, I found an old group chat I hadn't opened in months. One I used to be a part of, the family logistics thread. I scrolled through the messages. At some point, they'd removed me. Quietly. Without notification. But there was a glitch. A single archived message still remained on my phone. One they must have sent before kicking me out. It read, "If we do end up selling the place, we'll have to figure out what to do with Ethan's stuff. I doubt he'll be able to use any of it. Not for a while, anyway. No concern. No guilt. Just logistics." Like I was luggage someone left behind in a rush to catch a better flight. I dropped my phone. It clattered across the floor. Then I laughed. Not out of humor, but because the sheer audacity of it all was finally too much. They hadn't even waited to see if I'd wake up. They'd started building a new life the moment I became inconvenient. And now they'd built it using pieces of me. My furniture. My memories. My silence. But that was the last thing I'd give them. I opened my laptop and clicked record. The video wasn't angry. That was the point. It was calm. Collected. Sincere. I sat in my living room, hair combed, shirt ironed, cane visible beside the chair. The lighting was soft, natural. No theatrics. Just me and the lens. I started simply. My name is Ethan. And a month ago, I nearly died in a car accident. Then I told the truth. Not the drama. Not the emotional buzzwords. Just the timeline. The facts. How I'd woken up alone. How not a single member of my family had shown up. How I came home to an apartment that had been raided, emptied, and repurposed by the same people I once called my foundation. I showed screenshots, cropped, clean, with names blurred but timelines visible. I showed the wedding photo with my suit. The dog I never gave away. The empty storage unit. The quote from the group chat. "I'm not making this to get back at them," I said near the end. "I'm making this because someone out there needs to hear it. You're not crazy. You're not imagining the distance. And you're not obligated to keep showing up for people who would erase you the second you stop being useful." I didn't expect much. Maybe a few comments. A small ripple in a very big, very uninterested ocean. But the internet doesn't work like that. It exploded. Within 48 hours, the video hit 500,000 views. By the end of the week, over 3 million. My inbox flooded. People shared their own stories. Some cried. Some raged. Some said it gave them the courage to finally cut off a toxic relative. Others just wrote, "Thank you. I thought it was just me." Then the calls started. My mother. My sister. Even her husband, the guy who now sat behind my old desk, using my tools to build his business. They wanted to talk. To explain. To clarify. Mom left a voicemail. She said she was devastated. That she didn't think it would come to this. She asked me to take it down, for the family's sake. Sarah texted, "This isn't fair. You're making us look like monsters." I didn't respond. Because I didn't need to. The world had already seen the receipts. And more importantly, I had seen the truth. The truth that I had been the glue, and they had scraped me off the table like spilled sugar. The truth that the love I thought I shared with them, was really just utility dressed up as family. But the best part? I wasn't alone anymore. Strangers wrote me with more warmth than my own blood ever had. A woman from Oregon offered to adopt Lucy if I wanted to rehome her again. A man from Michigan offered me a job. A therapist in New York said my story had helped 3 of his clients articulate something they'd never been able to say aloud. I didn't just reclaim my voice. I built a choir. And the people who once erased me, they now had to sit in the front row and listen. I didn't need revenge. I just needed witnesses. And now, the whole world was watching.